Hello, everyone. For now, we know that Tesla is testing a ride-hail platform in California. They plan to make it public next year. It looks like safety drivers will be put on it before it comes out. It's not a big surprise, since they said that some states have laws about that. Rule in California says you need a safety driver first, and then you have to wait a certain number of miles or time before you can pull that person out of the car. I don't know what the rules are in Texas, but I believe they are not as strict. I know California has more hoops to jump through, but what does this mean? Well, we've been saying for a while that even if Tesla took a while to figure out full autonomy, or let's say to get regulatory approval for a fully autonomous taxi service, they could start a human-driven ride-hailing service. That way, they have a better cost structure than the average Uber car because we know that maintenance and operating costs for electric vehicles are about a third of the cost of gas-powered vehicles. There are a lot of strategic and tactical reasons to do that, and then it's just a question of when they'll get rid of the driver. We've been saying that it will happen sometime between 2025 and 2026. There seems like that's still in play based on the announcement, so pretty excited. You know the stock had a strong reaction following the call, I think likely because people were pleasantly surprised by earnings which beat expectations thanks to pretty aggressive cost reductions on the vehicle platform. They said they achieved a record cost of it's like $35,100 per vehicle. So that's, I think, what the street was the most focused on. What we've been very focused on, of course, is autonomy. And Sam, you've been focused on, the humanoid robots further down the line at the Y Robot event. And we've talked about this quite a bit internally. I felt like there was an expectation for them to reveal a lot more detail than came out. I mean, if you look at past product releases, it wasn't, I think, too much of a difference there, the We Robot event versus others. So clearly they were waiting for more of an investor-type event to talk about those details. Or maybe strategically, they want to keep more close to their chest now that they're actually close to launching. So the big news is when it comes to Tesla's impressive growth, it's not just about observing from the sidelines for Tesla bulls and those with a keen eye for uncovering the next stock market gem. This page tells you everything you need to know about Tesla. How much should Tesla stock be? What Tesla came up with and everything Elon Musk clicking on the affiliate links in the description and making a purchase may earn our channel a commission. We know that but date software releases tend to happen to latest software tends to happen on hardware 4 vehicles. And then hardware 3 vehicles get it later especially with the latest versions of the full of driving software suites, specifically everything 12.5, which was a major update, and further than Tesla said, they were moving towards this one model approach. I spoke with some people at the Y Robot event, and the explanation was okay, it's actually easier to do this with an N10 system. And I say one model for both hardware 3 and hardware 4 vehicles. At the We Robot event, Elon said he didn't want to get into the details of hardware 3 and 4. So I had speculated, okay, it seems like it's still probable based on what we've seen that they start with hardware 4. And it looks like that's what they're doing, so it's not too surprising. And to give you the numbers, it's like roughly 6 million cars, globally hardware 3 and hardware 4, like not quite but rough, let's call it 50-50s, split really roughly, and then about like half of that 6 million is in they still have quite a few cars on the hardware for platform, if they want to start there. And then the plan is again to basically because the inference chip on hardware 3 has different, like power memory limits than hardware 4, they have to change the model and basically compress the model a little bit to make it backwards, integratable. And then Elon said, if that doesn't work, then it would swap out the hardware system. And so they've been building the cars for a while now, since like the early days of Tesla, making their own inference chip and switching from NVIDIA, where there's like a panel on the car that pops out that you can actually swap out that inference chips. So while it sounds, complicated, they've planned for this, many years ago, in case they need to do that, as a hardware 3 owner, you might not be the first to sign your vehicle up for the platform. Certainly gives you, some incentives to maybe use the Tesla incentives to switch over to Harbor 4 if you wanted to, but I think longer term they have enough cars on hardware 3 where they're going to want to make it work, as I said, so I think that they'll make it work somehow. It's just a question of how we've dimensioned the market by price point. And there's some market at Uber and Lyft pricing today. It's like under 200 billion, roughly in market opportunity at like the $2 to $4 price point. Then there's like a big portion of the market that we've done some analysis based on how people value their time. It kind of makes sense if you look at the average cost to drive your own vehicle in the as well and around a dollar in Western markets, and then globally, like once you expand below a dollar then markets like China are in play. China, we had it at 50 cents. It actually looks like it's closer to 30 cents per mile. Prices have come down a little bit for ride hill there, so actually the total global opportunity is over 10 trillion. And yes, the further you move below that $1 price point, which is like a big linchpin to open up this opportunity, the more that market opportunity grows to be much greater than what Uber and Lyft occupy today. It's really hard to predict the day when an AI breakthrough will happen. You can absolutely say that Yan's been kind of aggressive in his targets. You could also say that optimism or aggression in setting those goals is what has helped Tesla get where it is today. But I would go even further and say that every automaker said they'd make an autonomous car by 2019. So I don't think Tesla's the only one who is overly optimistic. Maybe it's just that their goals are a lot more public and specific, which has led to more criticism. I argue that it's like you're charging for a driver assistance feature that arguably is the best on the road, and certainly like FutureWise has the most, and all the other automakers that offer like hands-free driving that's all geofence that's like certain roads. It's not, and Tesla didn't want to choose that geofence sort of confined strategy, which is what's made it, arguably a difficult problem to solve. But I think it's like, we believe that they'll get there in terms of like hands-free. So I think that yes, you're paying for future capability, but you're also, you're paying for your car to get better overnight and for you to kind of have to put less energy in as a driver, although of course you still have to pay attention today. Well, we had heard that Alphabet was going to invest $5 billion in wheels. So unsure exactly like what the split is of internal versus external investment to scale up the vehicle platform, if what I think is happening today, and we'll see what happens in the future. It's like it looks like they purchased these vehicles from auto partners, or unclear what the split is, but in order to fund that you do need billions of dollars to get because you want like, let's say like 10,000 cars plus per city here just to even get started. Tesla's talking about having millions of cars. So if you believe them, you're likely thinking that you want to get to that scale sometime in like the next 5 years, let's say, in order to just compete. But the other thing with Wio that we don't know that could be really expensive for them is how often people are actually intervening in the remote operators. So they have this one line they say, the remote operators might help the car as it travels across town to me. That sounds like if it was infrequent, they would just say it's infrequent, so I have a feeling that it's still frequent is. And that can be like very expensive on a per mile basis depending on how many labor people labor.